Now to breaking news out of San Antonio. 42 people have been found dead inside of a tractor trailer parked on the side of a road there. And we're told 16 others have been taken to hospitals. San Antonio police, border patrol agents, fire and EMS units are all on scene investigating.
Engine 52 arrived and found the trailer, as Chief McManus mentioned, with a body outside and several that they could visibly see inside once the doors were opened. At this time, we have processed approximately 46 bodies that have been triaged and tagged and declared deceased at this time. Fortunately, we were able to transport 16 people. 12 of those are adults and 4 pediatric. All of them were conscious at the time upon transportation.
So the plight of migrants seeking refuge is always a humanitarian crisis, but tonight we are dealing with a horrific human tragedy. So I would urge you all to think compassionately and pray for the deceased, the ailing, the families, and we hope that those responsible for putting these people in such humane conditions are prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
So that is breaking news. I mean, it's not actually breaking news, but it's something that's happened very recently. And my heart goes out to all of the families who are grieving right now. And I hope the ones who are hospitalized make a full and rapid recovery, especially the little babies. I'm not going to make this a political thing. That's not the purpose of what I am about to say right now. What I am about to say is trying to educate people when it comes to what really does happen when it comes to mass illegal migration. So this was a tragedy, but unfortunately this is nothing new. This isn't something that is a one-off. This is not something that doesn't really happen. This got caught on camera. The news decided to make a news story about it, but it doesn't mean it's not something that doesn't happen on a regular basis. A giant percentage or a large percentage of women and girls who get smuggled in by coyotes to cross the border illegally or who are undocumented are regularly abused, regularly assaulted, and regularly AR'd, and regularly sex trafficked or just trafficked for domestic slavery. That is something that happens on a regular basis. Right? They are sexually assaulted and abused by not only the coyotes, because some of them just see it as a perk or a benefit to their job, or even a part of the women's pay to get smuggled across the border, but they're also as assaulted by the other undocumented immigrants that they're crossing. Because I know it's not the nice thing to say, and I know it's not the politically correct thing to say, and the mass majority of people who are crossing the borders or undocumented immigrants are good people who are just looking for a good life. But there are also criminals that are mixed into that group of people. So the women and men and children who are traveling with other undocumented immigrants, not everybody in that group is a good person. Some people in those groups are criminals, and some of them have committed crime as assault or R-A-P-E. You can't say it on YouTube. People ask me what that means. Right? And the coyotes don't care if these women are hurt because they got their money. Their job is just to get these immigrants to a certain point. Their job isn't to make sure they get there alive. Their job isn't to make sure they get there unharmed. And again, if a person who wants to traffic a girl will give that coyote more money than they're making to get that person to a certain point so they can cross the border, then they will take that money and let that child or woman be trafficked. Their job isn't to look out for the best welfare for these people. Their job is just to make money. Another thing a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of these immigrants are lied to. They're fed a fantasy and they're fed a dream about the type of life that they're going to get when they get to the border of America. They're fed basically the American dream. And a lot of them come here and just face hardships. I mean, the cages hasn't gone away, guys. The cages are still there. So they get here at the borders, they're kept in cages, they are traumatized, they are separated from those kids, and a lot of those things are for a reason, but it doesn't mean it's not traumatizing and hard on the people that has to experience that. Then a lot of them, once they are released back into the United States, they go through a lot of hardship and turmoil. And this is not just the States, this is also in the UK and Europe that this happens. It's not just people from Mexico, as a lot of of people from South America and Central America. And if you talk to some of these people, they will tell you, if I knew how crappy my life was going to be once I hit the States, I would have just stayed where I was, because they're lied to and they're fed a fantasy and a dream in order to get them to hand over their money. And when speaking of money, a lot of them are paying their entire life savings just to be able to come to America. Some of these undocumented immigrants are dropped off in the middle of a fucking desert to fend for themselves, like that one little boy who was just lost by himself, wandering around in the middle of nowhere.
An outpouring of love is descending on the boy found lost and alone and terrified. An off-duty Border Patrol agent questions the boy in Spanish.
¿Vienes con tu mamá o tu papá?
Nadie. Yo venía en un grupo que venía de entrega con usted y al final me dejaron botado y venía aquí a pedir auxilio. Y tal vez me pueden robar, secuestrar o algo.
We're now learning more about him. He's 10 years old and comes from Nicaragua. He was traveling with a group of 184 migrants who he says abandoned him during the night. He was wandering the desert for 4 hours before he was found. The boy was taken to the overcrowded migrant facility in Donna, Texas. His harrowing ordeal comes just days after 2 sisters were dropped over a border wall by smugglers. The sisters were rescued and are now at a children's detention facility in El Paso. Now a 10-year-old boy becomes the latest heartbreaking image of the migrant crisis.
Some of them are put on tiny little dinky boats that are overcrowded and left to drown. A lot of these boats sink, a lot of them drown. And they're not told that that is the risk they're taking before they hand over the money to cross the border. Again, they're lied to and they're fed a fantasy. So a lot of people thinking that the right and compassionate thing to do is scream open borders, come open arms, come here, we'll have you, isn't the actual compassionate thing to do. What the US government should be doing is making it very, very loud and clear that don't come here undocumented. If you come here, we will turn you away. Even if that's not the entire truth. Even if they're really coming to seek asylum, we're gonna make sure you go through an actual proper judicial system to make sure you came here literally on asylum and not just because you want a job, because that's called a migrant worker, not an asylum seeker. But if you discourage them from coming over the border undocumented, you're actually saving lives. That is the compassionate thing to do. America should be working with these countries like Mexico and all the South and Central America countries to make it clear to them, you let your citizens know, this is not open borders. We have no open arms. If you want to come here, you have to come through the proper channels, or if you're seeking actual asylum. It's funny to me how America has no problem, putting sanctions and tariffs and wagging their fingers at countries like Russia and other countries that's not doing what they want them to do. But they don't put asylums or wag their fingers at countries who are treating their people wrong to the point that they're escaping those countries. Why don't we put more pressure on those countries to treat their citizens right? I feel like that is a better long-term goal than this band-aid of getting people to massively migrate over the border, where a good chunk of them are being harmed and abused or even dying along the way. I know that it's not America's job to be the world police, and I understand the idea of like, hey, cultures are cultures, it's really not for us to tell what countries to do, but human oppression is a human oppression, and if you truly believe that these people are running away from human oppression, why isn't the American government going, hey, we won't work with you until you better these people's lives, so they aren't trying to escape and risking their lives to do so. And before people go on and say like, well, we should just have better and easy legal immigration. And I'm not saying the legal immigration process couldn't be better. Also, getting American citizens and a green card couldn't be better, because I dated someone who was Italian. It took him 12 years to get his green card to become a legal citizen. And he had to work at a job that he fucking hated to get that. But anybody else could just jump over the border and get everything that he was denied because he was trying to do it through the proper channels. However, America accepts more immigrants than any other country on the planet. And that's legal and undocumented. But if you think that the immigration process needs to be better, more efficient, then work on that instead of asking people to risk their lives to come over the border. The same thing when it comes to people seeking asylum. I do think that that process can be more efficient and run smoother. However, because there's such a mass amount of people coming over the border saying they're seeking asylum, it slows down the process to a snail's pace, having people stay in those cages a lot longer than they have to. Anyway guys, that's all I had to say about that. I wasn't trying to make this a political statement. I really wasn't. I don't like when people use human tragedy to do that. I just wanted to show people this is the reality of the situation. This isn't a one-off. This is what happens with mass immigration. And this is what happens when you have a government that encourages people to, on a massive level and a massive scale, to come over the border illegally. They get smuggled, they get abused, and they get taken advantage of. And some of them, they lose their life or lose their freedom. Anyway guys, that's it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that button, get the notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm. And you guys have an amazing day. Bye.